Hey guys, how you going? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Sean and today we are doing something that I've been wanting to do for a while now, which is move everything out of my personal PC into this case which I purchased with my own money from Fractal. It's the Fractal Torrent Compact in white. We're going to be putting in some Be Quiet fans and an Arctic, air cooler on the CPU. So essentially we're moving away from water cooling and going back to a completely air-cooled computer, and I'm going to be sharing with you guys, how it looks, the aesthetics, and also the thermals, temperatures, and also the noise, so you can see what it actually sounds like. So that way you can sort of figure out whether or not this is the right move for you. For me, I've been a bit sensitive to noise lately, working from home a lot, and the noise that you get from a pump, from an all-in-one liquid cooler, is just something that I'm not really a big fan of. The one from Be Quiet though is the exception. It is a very, very good all-in-one cooler, but we're going to be going back to a tower cooler and air cooler and seeing how this all goes. So let me get the camera off the tripod. I'll show you the parts, I'll show you the system quickly, and then we'll get this build on the way. Now, if you guys enjoyed the video, or if you have any comments or questions, let me know down in the comment section. Get subscribed, chuck it a like, and let's begin. Alrighty, so this is my setup. You guys have probably seen it a million times. We've got the desk obviously raised a little bit at the moment, but the case that everything is currently in right now is from Be Quiet. It's the Silent Bass 802 in white. I recently did a video on it, so if you want to check it out, I'll leave a link to it up in the corner. We've got the Be Quiet all-in-one cooler on the 5900X CPU from AMD, so that's a pretty hard CPU to keep cool, but this pump has done, this cooler has done a pretty good job of that. We've got an RTX 2070 Super. We've got some Be Quiet fans in the front and in the rear, which have been really impressive. And this system is very, very, very quiet. But what we're going to be doing is moving it over into the Torrent Compact computer case. This is in white. So this case has two 180mm fans in the front pre-installed. You put your power supply up in the top, and then we're going to be adding in some extra fans. So it can support two 140mm fans in the bottom. So these are going to be intakes on the bottom. We can support a 120mm fan on the rear. So we're going to be putting this on the exhaust on the back. And then for the tower cooler or the air cooler, we're going to be using this one from Arctic. This is the Arctic Freezer 34. We're going to see how it goes. It's also in white. So we're basically doing an all white, air-cooled build. So these are the parts. I'm going to be taking everything out of there, putting it into here, and then we'll see how it actually goes. Alrighty, here we are. Everything is done, and man, this computer is absolutely one of the sickest computers that I've built. And the air cooling, honestly, it is so quiet. It's really hard to sort of put into words, but you guys will hear very soon how the acoustics are. I've used it for a little bit already just to make sure that everything's okay and thermals are all good. And man, it is really, really impressive once you guys see the thermals. But before we jump to that, I just want to go through and sort of show you how everything is built. So we've got those Shadow Wings, two 140mm fans in the bottom acting as a intake. And then we've got the Shadow Wing 2 120mm acting as an exhaust. The CPU cooler is that Arctic 34 Esports Duo. So we've got two 120mm Arctic fans on there in white. Again, very, very, very quiet. And then up in the top there, you got the power supply. So normally, in a lot of cases now you have power supplies in the bottom, but this one's up in the top, which is kind of, how it used to be back in the day. And I've got a Strix 850 watt 80 plus gold power supply up in there. We've got the white cable extensions, and the CPU is a 5900X with a Strix 2070 Super. And then the main, star of the show in terms of the case and the fans that come included are these massive 180 millimeter intakes, which you can crank them up if you need to really get a lot of performance, but leaving them idling around about 30-40% provides plenty of airflow through this case. There's been no thermal throttling or anything like that, and I think this case looks really, really nice considering it's a mid tower and how much we've been able to fit and how much cooling we've been able to sort of cram in. It's pretty incredible. But let me get the front panel off, let me get the top panel off and the back so you can sort of see the cable management and the filters, and so that way if you want to service it you can sort of understand that part of it as well. So give me 1 second while I do that. Alright, so these are those big 180 millimeter fans that come pre-installed on the front. If you do want to do a 3x120 or a 2x140 setup in case you want to water cool instead of air cooling, you can remove those, but I feel like you're kind of missing the point with this case because it really is all about maximum airflow. In terms of cleaning and maintenance, so obviously this is that grill that sort of goes in front of it, but on the back side of it here there is a fan filter that you can go ahead and remove and vacuum and clean quite easily. This just literally, like most front panels, just sort of clicks onto the front of it. And then interestingly, we've got a top panel here for the power supply. So as you can see, you've got that power supply mounted there, and there is plenty of room, for all of your cables to stick out. This is a full size power supply, so nothing small or skimpish about this one. All of your normal power supplies, fit up in the top there, and if you've got cable extensions like I do, you won't have any issue at all. So that top cover literally just goes onto the top there and just clicks into place. And then speaking of I/O, you've got 2 USB 3s, a USB Type-C, power and reset, and then dedicated headphone and microphone jacks. Now for cable management on the back side of it, even though there is a lot of cabling packed in here, Fractal's done a really good job by providing you, some zip ties, or not zip ties, Velcro tie downs. So these actually go hard up against the case, and it's kind of hard to see, but there's little channels there where you can put your cables in. And I definitely am not the best when it comes to cable management. On the back side of the case, if the side panel closes up, that's basically as good as it gets for me. But considering how much cabling there is, it's pretty clean and it's pretty tidy. And if you want to put in some extra 2.5 drives, you can definitely do that. One thing that is really nice that I kind of forgot about when I bought it is the fact that there is an included fan hub at the front here that supports up to 9 fans. So if you've got a bunch of RGB fans and you don't have enough ports on your motherboard, you can use the included fan hub that comes pre-installed on the machine that you can control by PWM from just one fan header on the motherboard. But you do have to power this with a SATA connection, which is pretty standard, when you're looking at a fan hub of this size. But overall, cable management wise, I think I've done a pretty good job, with the top and, with the back side here. I haven't wired in the front panel just because I very rarely use the front panel on my PC, but I'm actually really, like I said, impressed with the amount of room Fractal gives you here to actually sort of cable tie everything down. So if you're going for a really, really dense system like I am, you're not going to have any issues at all. Just take your time and make sure you plan sort of where all your cables are going to go. Alrighty, so now to show you the acoustics, or I guess so you can listen to the acoustics and see how everything sounds. We've got a digital sound meter positioned about 10 centimeters away from the PC with the window off. We've got a little Rode Wireless Go microphone sitting on top of it. And essentially anything below 30 decibels, this meter will show low. And below 30 decibels, really you can't hear it. It is so quiet that you couldn't even tell if the computer was on or off. So I'm going to shut up. We're going to go through 30%, 50%, 70%, 90%, and 100% fan speeds, just so that you can get a bit of an idea on how this computer sounds. So at the moment, it is set to 30%. Now, while this system is amazing and the air cooling is great, you can barely hear the fans at the moment. I wish you could, be in the room with me, but these fans are only spinning at about 40% right now. And if we switch over and I show you this screen, which is an actual, we've got GTA 5 currently running. It's 1440p, max settings on absolutely everything cranked. The GPU and CPU temps are sitting around, 75, 71 degrees Celsius, 70 frames a second at the moment. Maximum usage on the GPU, about 20% usage on the CPU, when we're actually driving around, there's actual things happening in the game. And we've got precision boost overdrive turned on for the CPU, and we've got all the power limits all the way dragged to the right for the GPU. And these temperatures are absolutely, perfectly acceptable, really exceeding my expectations. I did not think we would get these temperatures when we consider the system is barely even able to be heard. So I'm really happy with this investment and my decision to move away from water cooling. And I think that this is going to give me the best of both worlds. Low temperatures, low noise, and just a really nice compact looking PC. So guys, thanks a lot for coming along on this journey. I hope you found it as interesting and informative as I did. When we look back at the journey and talking about custom liquid cooling and how I really don't think that it is worth it necessarily, unless you're willing to spend a lot of money, and money has to be something you need to factor in every single time you build a PC. Not all of us have the luxury of being able to spend $1,000 on custom cooling and custom components and all that kind of stuff. Me going to Lee & Lee and getting all of their parts, I really thought that was going to be a done deal, and I didn't have to think about my PC and how it looked and how it performed for a while. But unfortunately, as we all know, that pump from Lee & Lee, the Galahad pump, was just too loud. And I'm actually really happy that I made this kind of, commitment to myself to find something, not sacrifice, not settle, and get something really cool, really quiet, and something that is aesthetically still nice to look at and have on display. So I guess, in a way, big thanks to Be Quiet, because they kind of inspired this whole journey to trying to find a quiet PC. And as you saw in last week's video, if you haven't seen it, go and check it out. That was a really amazing look at a company who focuses not just on making quiet cases, but quiet coolers, and their fans are just incredible. The Arctic cooler that we've got on this CPU, again, is incredible. And this case, the Torrent, with the amount of air that's going through this thing, I really don't think that if anyone was going to come to me today and say, hey, listen, I've got, XYZ amount of money to spend on a PC, would you recommend water cooling or air cooling? And I would say that if you plan it properly and you take the time, I would say air cooling is a safer and better option. But I'd love to hear from you guys if you have any comments or questions about this video or anything else that I've talked about over the last few weeks. Please let me know down in the comment section. Get subscribed if you enjoyed the content and you want to see more. And until next time, I'll see you guys in the next video. Cheers.